going on, guys? I'm never gonna get tired of that song. Actually, I kind of am, but
you have this
it's okay.
giant smirk on your face. I'm like, what is he thinking about right now?
Oh, I'm just thinking about how much I love that song and how much it really inspired me to try and create stuff like that. But yeah. Anyways, welcome to another episode of Life of the Lost. I am one half of Supe, Sam, and this is
Megan.
And this is our weekly podcast where we talk about anything and everything. Two adoptees, one who grew up in Minnesota and one who grew up in New York City on the Upper West Side. If you're just joining us, and this is our story. So welcome again to this week's episode.
It's funny how you were about to say like two kids just growing up.
We're two kids, always kids at heart.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think it's funny because that's when we went wet. That's when we met.
Yeah.
And I was curious.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask you and like hear how you tell the story about how we met.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wow. It was a long time ago. So
You remember how old we were?
no, I think like maybe 12, 13,
Mm-hmm.
I think. I remember it was like almost summertime, maybe a few months prior to summer. My mom had asked me if I ever wanted to go back to Peru. I was like, in the beginning of bringing it up, yeah, sure, why not? I guess it'll be a cool idea. I liked vacation back then. I still do, but I was like, cool, like it's a vacation. Not knowing really much about Peru. All I know is that when that time came, and she was just like, okay, cool, like let's I'll get everything ready and we'll plan it for like this summer, a month in the summer. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. So a few months goes by and she's she's consistently trying to get everything worked out. I kind of forget about it until the time of it where she's like, oh my God, Sam, like it's almost time. And I'm like, what? It's time for what? She's like, to go to Peru. I'm like, oh,
That's so typical you
damn.
though to not like remember.
Oh, Mom, I don't know if I want to go. Why? Well, because it's almost summer and all my friends are out and I want to like hang out with them. And she's like, what? Well, that's Sam, I booked it. And I'm just like, all right, fine. So then we end up going and I remember seeing all the kids in Florida, and
We went with a big adoptee.
Yeah. We went with a big adoptee group.
It was it was a heritage trip to all kind of meet our adopted families again. It was with the Ties program.
Yes. So that was really cool experience. I definitely, if there's any way that I'd like to go to as an adoptee going to my country of origin, I couldn't have asked for a better situation to be in, just with a whole bunch of other adoptee kids. Whoa. Sorry, Oreo's thrashing his bed. Other adoptee kids, being with them together and experiencing that, or whatever that is, it's different for everybody. I didn't really have any kind of expectations. I just wanted to go, and to be honest, I wanted to get it over with. But then, I met a lot of cool people that I never thought I'd meet. You as one of them, the cool peoples. So,
Do you remember where we met?
Yeah, we met in a pizza shop. Yeah, I don't remember anything about that other than the actual booth kind of that we were in.
Yeah.
It felt like it was in the back somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't remember walking there. I don't remember going in. But I remember that. I remember them coming out with pizza on a...
And it was a weird pizza because we were in Peru. We had these big expectations,
like,
I
fuck
did,
is this?
of like just a pizza with cheese and pepperoni and this
What
stuff.
was it? Like ham or something?
Yeah, they didn't have pepperoni. And they said you could have ham and
Why don't you have pepperoni? It's like...
They didn't really have that much sauce either, so it was really interesting.
Weird. Yeah, that was a very interesting time.
Yeah. I don't remember... I remember being in Florida, but I don't remember really seeing anybody. And I remember you said that that's the first time you saw me is when we were in Florida before we got to Peru. But the first time I remember you is being in that little pizzeria.
Yeah, I was a chubby kid. And I didn't want to eat in front of people. So I was like, yeah, I'm not so hungry. But I had a piece. My mom kept being like, Sam, you want to eat? Why aren't you eating?
I know, she kept pressuring you to eat.
I'm like, God damn it, shut up.
I think you just kind of ate slowly just to
Yeah, I
appease
ate
her.
slowly. Yeah. But yeah, no, that was really cool. We sampled, we went to a lot of different places and it was really nice. Saw a lot of the country and had some guinea pig.
You tried some?
Cool. Of course I did. It was great. Tasted just like chicken.
So that we were divided into groups because we had such a big group. There was a yellow group or a yellow bus kind of thing and an orange bus. Which one were you in?
I think I was in the orange bus.
Me too.
Yeah. And yeah, that was cool. Like, oh man, it was a really great time. I'm trying to remember, like, I feel like it was such a blur. Like a lot of it was just like a haze now that I'm really trying to remember it. But I just remember like watching the DVDs in the nighttime.
Oh yeah.
In the hotel.
You were one of the cool kids because you had the DVD player.
Hell yeah, DVD player. Shit was like my essential for everything travel. I would always have DVD players before we had like iPhones and we could just like stream movies and stuff. Back then there was no internet on planes, so you're kind of like fucked unless you brought like some movies or something to watch. So I was definitely like that guy. I needed some entertainment. I couldn't just sit there. So
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was really, I had 28 Days Later. That movie was like, it just kind of came out around that time.
We watched that a few times.
Yeah, that was like one of my favorite movies. Back then it wasn't like a big blockbuster movie. I remember like Danny Boyle's interpretation of it was very like, very like found footage kind of, very like, a word to describe it would be just like hostile, like a hostile visual of like this hostile, extreme contrast, intensity, if that could be all put into visuals, if words could look like visuals, 28 Days Later would be that to describe it. And I remember just being changed by that movie, so I'd always watch it when I was like
all the time.
Yeah,
it was your go-to movie.
Yeah,
but it was a really cool experience. We went and we, like Sam said, we tried so many different things. We went so many different places. I remember eating at like a fancy restaurant and having to do this dance. I remember going and now I'm like totally blanking at all the places that we went to, but
yeah, me too.
We went to a lot. We were traveling a lot. We did go to Machu Picchu, and then we all kind of branched out to meet our birth parents somewhere in Lima. Some people traveled to go see their birth parents. So it was, what was it, like a 10 to 14 day trip, I believe?
Yeah, it was huge trip.
And it was really nice. It was in the summer, like you said, and something really cool that I like now that I guess at the time I didn't appreciate was the therapists who were on the trip.
There were therapists on the trip?
Yeah. And I don't know if you remember, but they would kind of take groups of us to go upstairs to the roof or to other areas to talk about things. And like some people were like super like, nah, I don't really want to talk about it. And they would just talk about it amongst groups when we were meeting our birth parents. Some people needed to talk about things like, okay, get prepared. This is, meeting your birth parents. You might feel this way. You might feel that way. And I just thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, me too. Sorry, when you were talking about that, the only thing I could think of was just like what's going on now. Like, I guess my mind went to birth parents, birth family, talking about it, to my birth family, thinking about my brothers and sister, and then thinking about today and thinking about where they are and how they're in California right now, and then just thinking about my whole views on immigration and where I come from and how my views kind of contradict how I look, how I'm supposed to think, and what side I'm supposed to be on, yet I find myself on a very different side for very different reasons, very legitimate reasons, I think. Sorry, I'm just like on this like kind of just trail of thought. Don't mind me, but I don't know, it all kind of just boils down to like where I'm from a very dual meaning.
Yeah.
I love where I'm from. I love where I'm from. Sorry. When I say where I'm from, I'm like, I'm American. I don't say like I'm Peruvian where I'm from. No, I'm from New York, specifically. And I love America. I love everything about it. I love everything that it's given me. And I am very territorial about it, about like its culture, about its way of life, about everything. And so I don't like people who bash it. I'm aware of its flaws. I'm aware of like the things that we can do better, but I'm also not for being negative about where we all live.
And I think it's an interesting perspective because you've been back to like your birth country. You've seen how a lot of the people live, and I think that my perspective changed on
and
how
I've been in the
grateful
shit.
I
Like
was.
I've been at the mercy of American law. I was arrested. I was processed. I was in the jail, like a pre-holding cell to like, you know, being shipped off to like Rutgers Island. You know, it was huge like jail complex where people get shipped off to like maximum security prisons. There is no like in between. Like, so like I understand everything that comes with like that kind of like controversial stuff that we're dealing with in the law when it comes to like minorities and the police and stuff. Like, so I have that experience. I feel like to have some kind of justifiable ideas for it.
Yes, but I also feel like, and I think this is kind of where me and you not necessarily clash, but think maybe differently about this too. But like, although you did have that experience, you also had your mom to bail you out 100%. Or a lot of people, they don't have their parents to even have the means to bail them out.
Yeah, but that's
even your friends who you went with, literally, they didn't get their record expunged like you did.
But but I feel like that's besides the point a little bit, because it's like you can't take away what I experienced there. My mom couldn't bail me out there. I had to wait due process. Some of my friends got out before me who had criminal records on them still. Even though I didn't get out when I was supposed to get out. I thought I was going to get out sooner because my mom tried to get a lawyer.
You want to tell the story really quick of what happened?
Trying to get a lawyer. Yeah, sure. Why not? So I was with a group of friends, and we were up. We were at like a friend's house up on a rooftop, and we were like chilling, drinking, you know, doing graffiti and stuff, and just having a good time. And then someone's from another building, because we were on a project building rooftop, and somebody from like another building, not a project, saw us and thought we were doing something like illegal, which we kind of were. We were underage, drinking and vandalizing a building. And I just, all I remember was just like hanging out, like just drinking and turning to the left, and literally I could see out of the corner of my eyes, there's three. So on the project buildings, there are multiple entries to
the roof.
Yeah, to the roof. And I just remember hearing a biggest bang, and like somebody literally kicked down the door. Well, not kicked down the door, but kicked open the door. And it was dark out, so really bright flashlights were looking like in my face. And I saw like, I don't know if they had guns.
How old were you?
Like 16.
Okay.
Probably. I swear I was like 16. And they were just like, you know, like everybody like get down on the ground. And I remember like meaning like put your hands up and get down on the ground. And I'm like getting on my knees and just like, you know, like put my hands up, and I'm just like, you're like, all right, now everybody get on the wall. And they put your hands on the wall, and then I put my hand on the wall, and literally person to person, these two guys came down and patted us all over to make sure. He's like, are you holding any weapons or anything? Point to you, anything that would harm me. Please tell me now before I search you. No. Do you have any illegal paraphernalia or whatever? No. And they pat me down, whatever, and they're like, okay, all right, cool.
Didn't you say they're all speaking Spanish?
Yeah, but you know, I answered to the English.
Okay.
They would say it first in Spanish, then they would say it in English.
Oh, okay.
And but I think for me, looking back at it, they said in Spanish, but I responded in English, so they continued in English.
Yeah.
And so
sorry,
I was like, sorry. I said, sorry, excuse me, what? And they're like, do you have any? And then that's kind of
okay.
like, and then yeah, and then they handcuffed us and they brought us downstairs to the van, and then yeah, and then it was like late at night, and we went upstairs. We went to 25th Street precinct, and we stayed there for a few hours until we got moved to downtown to Chinatown and their big processing jail down there in Canal Street, where they had all the like Wall Street, where they had all the big case lawyers, and like, you know, where you go to get married and get a New York State certificate of marriage and all that stuff. They have over there, jury duties over there, everything. So yeah, that was my I stayed there for like a weekend, 3 days. Got booked on a Friday, got out like on a Monday night, and it was tough. It was horrible. I was in a cell with like people who like killed multiple people. It's people straight from Dominican Republic who like was telling me, one guy in particular told me that he like gutted a man for some weird reason, and I have no idea why. But I was just very like, oh, that's
How many people were in the cell?
Like at one point there was like 20, and then it kind of slowly came out, and when people would call their names to get adjourned because people were there before me.
Why weren't you sent, do you think, to like a juvenile area?
I don't know.
Were any of your friends over 18?
No, I don't know why. That's a good question. Maybe they thought that I was old enough to get processed.
Because it was like a weekend thing too?
I think because there are certain laws that even if you're juvenile, you can still be tried as an adult. I think it's like 12 to like 14 is like juvenile. But when you're like 16 up, you can be charged and put in a holding cell with adults. And it was just very like intense. Like I saw like, you know, legitimate people like tweaking out, going on like cold turkey off their like heroin and stuff. And it was just like they're having the sweats, and they were just like just scratching themselves. It was really like there were fleas in there, and it was really intense.
Did you get fleas?
Yeah, I got itchy a lot. Yeah, I could barely sleep. All I know is that I had some change to call payphones. There was payphone in there you could use, and call my mom. And
did she know? Did she know before?
I don't think so. Okay, I'm not sure. Yeah,
do you remember the conversation, how that went?
I don't, but I know she was like horrified.
But didn't she have the option to let you come out on a Friday or come out earlier, and she decided because you weren't necessarily being the best kid at the time, you were kind of getting into trouble, that she let you stay for the weekend?
Something like that. It was something like that. It was I remember her like talking shit to me kind of after it. The experience, the saying that like, no, you know what it was? Her friend wanted to have me stay in there longer. Yeah. But I was taken out when I was. So I couldn't have been taken out earlier. Okay. But I could have been left in there even later.
Okay.
So, you know, Mom was like, "Dad, duly noted, but I'm going to get my son out."
It's kind of like a theme. Like, it's interesting because you have a single mom, so she doesn't have like maybe a partner to relay these messages to, or to kind of bounce ideas back to. She has her friends. And so it's interesting because I feel like they're all just a group of like strong, like independent women who have their own like bias on how to raise kids. And and some of them don't even have kids, which is interesting because they have such heavy opinions.
I know. And like, it's like bringing all this all back, it kind of like leads into like, you know, how me and you operate, you know, being a partnership, a couple, how we have our own different views on the world, even though we have very similar stories that we were both adopted from the same country with, you know, Caucasian parent, you know, but yet we have very different beliefs and belief systems too. I guess, for instance, like the idea of like religion with you and me is very different. or maybe now they're more getting closer to like a similarity. But when we first started, like, you know, talking about that stuff, it was very different.
And I just think it's interesting because kind of we jumped all the way ahead to like kind of where we are now. But I think just growing up, me and you just banged heads so much, and I think that was more of a like a childish like kiddie like I like you too, and then kind of like a never mind, we're getting too close.
I think it was more like you banged heads with me.
Yeah, I think so.
And me
I
just being problem. Like, what I don't understand what's going on.
I was so scared. I feel like taking it back all the way to like 13. It was interesting because we were sorry, Oreo's always here. Oh, what's wrong? He's like chewing on this bone. He just
chewed this. Like, that's crazy.
He's been chewing on this for a few days. It's like kind of like this thicker than a for those of you who do not know, we have a little Boston Terrier. His name is Oreo, and he's 10 months old.
Oh, busted.
And he's always like taking a...
Oh, busted.
I just like using that. Sorry.
He's always usually running around while we're doing a podcast, so thankfully right now he's just chilling. But going back to when we were 13, it was interesting because everybody at that trip kind of branched off and coupled up. Mm-hmm. Except you and a few others didn't. And it was really funny, and I just want to like spill some tea right now because just like I'm not going to mention anybody's names, but it's just really funny because we're all at this age where we're kind of like experimenting with things, right? With like people and like just I guess like relationships and what that is. And I just remember like, you know, everybody's coupling off and like some people are like talking about sex and some people are like haven't even had their first kiss yet. So it was just an interesting time because I think maybe the youngest might have been like 11, but I think there were people who were possibly like up to 17, if I'm right. I'm not. Some people were a bit older than us at the time.
Some people were.
And it was funny because I remember just being like, you know, that one of the elevators in the hotel didn't work. And so I was like, I'm just going to take the stairs. And I opened up the door. And literally, this guy is like sucking this girl's tit. And I was like, no. I've never seen this before. What's happening? And like, I mean, I was 13 at the time, so I hadn't had sex. You did.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of like, oh my God. And then I like left. And so it was just a really funny, like interesting time. And I'm sure like none of the parents knew any of this was happening. But it was just funny because like us growing up, I felt like the reason I always cause problems is because I felt like I'd get too close to you, and I realized that like I can't because you live in New York City, and I mean that's ultimately like I had coupled up with somebody too, and like that's pretty much ultimately what ended it. We were 13 years old. It was silly. For two, like I remember meeting somebody. So I was with this person who I had met on the Peruvian trip, but they lived in a different state, and I remember like getting into junior high, and I had met this guy. I was on a swim team, he was on a wrestling team, and we were taking the same bus to these high schools because we were both on a high school team. And I just remember meeting this guy, and he's just really kind and really nice, and like just started conversations, and we went from like sitting in like opposite seats to him like sitting next to me, and like this kind of like really nice like friendship grew. And then like some kind of sparks kind of happened, and then I remember having to break up with this person who I had been in like a quote unquote relationship with. And it was hard, and like I think that was one of the first times I had to break up with somebody, maybe. No, that was probably the second time. But it's just interesting, you know, how you grow up and how you deal with like breaking up with people and how you're trying to like sift through all of these emotions and feelings. I just remember on that trip and all the other trips with you, like I was just being so gravitated towards you and always just wanting to be around you. Then I always got stuck because I always felt like, okay, but like he's going to have to go back to New York and I'm going to have to go back to Minnesota and we can't do this. And I do remember you being like, but I can move there. Like I remember you saying that so many times. I was like, no, you can't, Sam. Where are you going to stay? What are you going to do? We're like 15, 16 years old. And so it was just like the thing that scared me the most is like, you were serious.
Yeah. And I don't know. I just, the difference between me and you is that sometimes I guess you think about your decisions when I don't. I just act on them. Like And not the bad ones, because I feel like I was raised good, so I know like that's a stupid decision.
Right after we talk about you going to jail.
No, well, based on my but that's like a once in like a blue moon kind of like unfortunate kind of thing.
He's never been back since. Let's not forget that.
Like yeah. So like, I'm not like, and I stayed away from drugs, other than like marijuana. I'm not one to ever get into situations with like gangs or violence or like, anything that's like serious.
Yeah.
Got in a few fights, learned my lesson. That kind of, what's it called? That kind of reckless part of me is kind of like subsided.
Yeah.
I never thought it would, but it has. I'm just like interested in just trying to like make life moves, life goals.
Yeah.
So
but
that's where all my energy and frustrations are going into now.
Yeah.
But so like going back to my point, like I just make a decision in the moment. I just stick with it, and I don't really think about it, other than I don't really think about what I could have done better, because I'd made the decision and that's what happened. So I'm happy with whatever the turnout is.
Yeah.
That's like sometimes like, me and you, like we'll make a plan and like I'll just like kind of just go with the flow, and it ends up being a really great plan. And sometimes I feel like
I think about it too
and then
much.
we get like caught into this like kind of like it didn't meet expectations, so therefore it could have been better. And I'm like, well, I guess now that I'm thinking about it, I guess it could have.
Yeah.
But why do we have to think about it?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that's where like this negative mindset kind of came from, like overthinking things way too much. And like, but it was really interesting because growing up, I was thinking about this the other day. It's interesting because our parents just let us kind of go on airplanes by ourselves to just hang out with each other. Like I remember just going to New York by myself, just chilling with you. And I remember you came to Minnesota a few times.
Yeah.
And so it was really nice. It was always usually for a reason. I remember, you coming, I think, to Minnesota. It was like I graduated high school. I think you were there for that one. Graduating college. I think you were there for that one. Just like random summer trips and stuff like that.
Yeah, with like sometimes other groups of
other adoptees. Yeah. Usually it was always kind of like in a group setting, or sometimes we'd go to Chicago and meet there, or Wisconsin and meet there. And so it was really nice kind of having those trips and having those moments and stuff.
Yes.
But it was always like a really big theme with us is like we'd get super close and then
you just destroy it
completely.
And like, all right. I started to learn not to get angry at you for that as I got older. I was like, okay. Like I wouldn't like,
because I think the more angry you got, like the more angry I got, and then so we'd just go like months without talking.
But I'd learn how to like just be understanding of that, being like, I'll just respect you even though you get upset, and I'll just let it go.
But the nice thing was that you did that completely, because I think with all the highs and lows of growing up,
because that was my philosophy. That was like the beauty of it. Like, if I don't hold barriers to you, if I don't try and hold you and keep you, then either you'll come back or you won't. Like that. But like my belief that just showing you my respect
by giving me freedom. Yeah,
and showing like my whole philosophy, even at that young age, was just like, you're gonna know me for if you'd never see me again, at least I know that your last memory of me is just like calm and just respectful. It's just like, okay, well, I'll talk to you some other time then,
Yeah.
Like, instead of like, no, you stupid ever, like, I don't ever treat me like that, like, you don't even care, like stuff like that.
Yeah, and it was just interesting because I remember so many phone calls that we'd have, and they'd be like hours long, and we never really got off the phone, or we were forced to get off the phone. And that was nice, and we had like a really good friendship. And then I'd always come out of like left field and kind of ruin it because I just got so scared. What's wrong?
No, I think
you're like looking at Oreo's toy, like.
Yeah, I'm just
You're
You know when you
distracting
need something
me.
that like fidgets with? That's what I'm just.
You need a fidget toy? Go
Yeah.
find one of Maya's fidget toys.
Yeah, because that's I'm just fidgeting. Sorry.
And he's just like, what are you
I
doing?
know.
But I think that, oh yeah, that's what I was thinking about. It was really nice that you kind of gave me that freedom, because there was so many fights that me and you kind of got into, like screaming matches, and all the way up until like 20 years old, I think. Because I remember being at a boyfriend's house and we were fighting, and then I was like, oh my God, stop. And I remember hanging up on you, and his sister was like, what is that about? And I was like, one of my friends, he just drives me crazy. Like, I just can't stand him. And then I would just literally sit on the thought of like you driving me crazy. But the problem was, when we were kind of at that age, I was the angry one and you were just so calm. So like I was just so like festering on the fact that I was angry and that you were calm, and it drove me nuts. But it ultimately kind of like led me back to you, because at the end of the day, if something came up, like I was saying earlier, like the hardships of just life and getting to know yourself in the teenage years and then your 20s, I would always go to you for comfort, because I knew that whatever kind of conversation we left off on, whatever kind of like anger or aggression or like sadness or whatever, I kind of showed you that you'd be there no matter what. And I think that was always the nicest thing, because you didn't hold me accountable for, which is, it's good and bad, right? Like you didn't hold me accountable for the times that I did hang up or the times that I did get mad and stop talking to you. You'd answer the phone every time, and you'd answer the text messages every time.
Yeah. I don't know why sometimes, but I did. No, I did. I knew why, because
Sometimes I remember you answering the phone though one time being like, who's this? I'm like, shut the fuck up. You know who this is.
Yeah, but sometimes I get a new number, a new phone, and I don't have contacts.
I felt like you were being a little petty. You only did that like once or twice, but I feel like I probably low-key deserved it.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was nice how everything turned out.
Yeah.
You know, so my philosophy works. You're gonna like the way you look. I guarantee it. I need that as a sample.
Oh my God.
No, just I guarantee it. And
That's true.
And I need okay, so that's I guarantee it. And
He's
then
talking
this
about
one,
like a little sound
and
blurb
this
that
one
he's
will
been
be,
using on this little Rodecaster Pro.
something the John Gruden. It's not about hot.
No, it's not
I'm in the
gonna-
nightmares. You're gonna take somebody's job. You're gonna take somebody's heart.
It's just funny. It is nice. I feel like I've been in New York for almost 5 years now, and I feel like the first few years were really hard. But it is nice to kind of be in a place where I feel like there's a little bit more balance. Well, there's a lot more balance than there was before. I feel like we're kind of at the same page, and it's interesting because we've known each other for such a long time, and I think we know each other really well, but that doesn't make everything easier. It doesn't make things like, okay, I've known you for a long time, like it's just gonna work, it's just gonna click. I think there's been a lot of things we've had to work on, especially just co-living, being around each other, working in the same space, and it's interesting. And I think that it's funny because this question has actually come up a lot, is, you know, what is it like being with another adoptee? And like, I think maybe to me, I don't think twice about it just because it's like us, because we've known each other for such a long time. It's just kind of how I'm just used to it. I don't feel like it's somebody else. But when I do look back at like other relationships, that's when I notice, I guess, like the pros and cons of being with another adoptee, and like how you're more understanding of what that means, or you might understand like abandonment more, or you might understand like the venting of what I'm saying, even though it's like very repetitious, like wait, is that a word? Repetitious? It's very repetitive.
Yeah.
Maybe when I'm like complaining about my birth family and the things I choose or don't choose to do. So I think that's nice. Where other people really couldn't understand like what that meant.
Yeah. I've never been in a time in my life where I felt like I was supposed to have all these ideas and all these feelings about like adoption and being adopted and what that means and what kind of like where I rank in the spectrum of the ideologies of like people feeling certain ways about being adopted. I never thought I'd need to put myself in there. I thought I was like, you know, like a hybrid and like they don't make them like me ever. And so I'm just like floating and no one ever gets me or understands where I'm coming from. But then like all these other people, you know, felt the need to create a group or create a community of adoptees. And now it's just like, you know, you're trading war stories against your adoption and story, DK journeys.
Done. Please don't ever say that one again.
I like saying it.
It's so obnoxious. It's interesting.
I grew up like that.
Being in New York City and all of these weird slang things like DK. Like, what's the only reason that drives me nuts is because when people say it, DK, they say it and then they say the word like after it. DK like. Isn't that what that means?
No.
What does it mean?
It means that, but it doesn't mean that. It's like saying like,
to me, it's like saying like, just two different words.
I don't know.
You know, like
yeah, you know, like that's right? You know, like, so it's like kind of saying like, you know, like,
yeah. But we just have to make up a new word for it.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, you know, has to say DK.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not, you know, I don't know where I'm going with that, but I guess. Yeah, go.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I think like I've talked about before, you know, hearing other people, you know, and I've been in a few monthly calls with adoptees, and it's interesting. And I guess how I can relate it back to you is that like I'll go through these calls and I'll come and talk to you, and you'll be like, oh my God, you're not tied in with it as I am, like more. I feel like I'm a little bit more deeper into like the adopted community than you are. And I kind of like that because you're not really, it's not that you're not invested. I don't know. What, do you like understand what I'm saying kind of to an extent?
Yeah, I guess, well, for whatever it's worth, my beliefs doesn't like, it ends with me. It starts with me, ends with me. I think that my life has, where other people want to find meaning in adoption, I just view adoption as that's it. Like, that's it. Like, I'm adopted. All right.
Next.
Yeah. Like, and when they say, who are you? Well, who am I? I guess I'm just a musician trying to find my sound. That's how that's my journey.
Yeah.
Trying to find my sound, trying to find like how I can get my creative aspect out of me, how I can channel my internal self, how can I channel myself with the higher powers, you know, whether that's the universe, whether that's God, like how, my relationship with that, my relationship with music, those are my relationships with my family, and less about like where I come from, more of like where I'm going and how I'm gonna get there. So like a lot of, maybe that's why maybe I come off very cynical and very like just not helpful with like opinions of like adoptees about like how, you know, do you give back to your adoptive communities? Do you not give back to your adoptive communities? Do you treat your adoptive parents better than your birth parents, you know? Are you mad at you? Should you be mad at your adoptive parents?
Yeah.
By taking you away from your birth parents?
I think like that's you know, saying that you know, might be cynical about it. I think that's literally though what helps me the most about kind of my adoption, because like you don't go down this rabbit hole with me. Like I'll talk to you, I'll kind of, I was going to say preach. No, I'll talk to you about it. I'll like give you my opinion. I'll cry. I'll get upset. Whatever the case is. But what I like about you is that you just kind of like push me back up. I don't get stuck in those feelings because I feel like you kind of tell me like you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to just sit there and like mope on them for days on end. Like, yes, have your time to be upset but like follow through. follow through with that emotion and see where that's actually going to take you. And it's interesting because I think the difference with some other adoptees that I know personally get really stuck in that narrative and cannot get out. And they're so obsessive about the narrative about trying to find themselves that they just create this giant wormhole and they're just constantly climbing out. And I don't know if any kind of answer or
do you think
anything
tailors
will
to
help.
more like female adoptees than males?
Well, it's interesting because a lot of people say that male adoptees, and this is just what I've heard. It's not like I don't know any like statistics, so sorry if I'm wrong, but just are very kind of like don't really want to talk about it, are very like it is what it is. Might be emotional, but just not say anything. And I think it's interesting because I can relate to that with you. You might be sitting here being like nonchalant about it and stuff, but I do know that like when there's like really deep or dark times that you do kind of look back on your birth mom and things like that. But it definitely doesn't mean that you're getting lost in those thoughts. But
I pay tribute to it. Like, for instance, I'm very grateful. Like, this is where my gratefulness begins and ends. Mm-hmm. I'm grateful that, which aids to how I feel. I'm grateful that my birth mom gave me up. I did not want to be in Peru if that was the kind of living that I see my brothers and sister live like. It's never something I'd ever want to be. So I'm so grateful to be in America with my mom. So yes, that is the greatest gift that my birth mom ever gave me, was an opportunity to do something with my life, and which my brothers and sister was never able to do. I never in a million years would ever dream of living in Peru, growing up in Peru, ever. Like, and I'm so sorry for everyone who feels opposite or did grow up in Peru or wish they grew up in Peru. I don't
think it's, to be honest though, like I get what you're talking about, like maybe not wanting to be in like a impoverished community. But I think the difference in why some people would have chosen that, it's because like they feel as if they have a better bond with their birth family than they do with their adoptive family. But I feel like because you grew up with your mom and you know you guys had a pretty good relationship, like yes, there's fighting and things here and there, as all relationships and all parental, like, you know, things go through, everybody goes through that, but I feel like you were just shown so much love and so much support, like mentally, physically, emotionally, like financially. It's, you know, that really helped aid to your case of not really wanting to have to go back and not necessarily needing to find that meaning of like this attachment or needing to find your birth parents because you feel like you didn't have any kind of attachment or love here. You had that. And so maybe that's, you know, part of the reason too. But I think that some people, it doesn't matter where their birth family is in the world. Like they just wanted to be with them or wish that they were raised with them. And so I think that's the difference.
Yeah, and like, and I guess for me, it's like, because I'm already content with that, I have no need to search for that. Yeah. So therefore, I would have never known that was even a possibility. So
and
therefore,
that's interesting. Like,
I just
word
like
too.
live my life how I'm trying to just pursue what I want to do, which is why for the longest I thought that like I was just one and done case. Like in my mind, I guess nobody was ever going to be like me. No one will ever understand where I'm coming from. Yeah. Even if you are adopted from the same country, you still won't understand, but I'll be able to show you if you ask. But like, other than that, like, I don't really expect you to like say like, you know, to this is how you're like, yeah, I totally understand. This is how you're supposed to feel exactly like, or I can help you feel like X, Y, and Z. I'm just like, so I was just like, you know, these are my demons. I'm never gonna like, like there's never gonna be an outlet for it. There's never gonna be a foundation where I can just find conclusion. I'm just gonna do it and move on to what I want to try and do in my life, which is just, I don't know, just a fucking musician. Just fucking play music and try and make somebody feel something. Yeah. That's it.
And I feel like it's so interesting because I think before I was really super lost in that story. But what I kind of like now is, especially with like making collages and things, is kind of like having an outlet. I don't know if I've ever had like an outlet like that to be able to kind of like feel this like lost feeling or this like feeling of hope or sadness or scared or whatever the case is, and being able to kind of like put all of that into this, and like while I'm doing that, kind of talk about my emotions or my feelings towards being adopted. And that's been really nice, I think. I guess my whole goal is to just not get lost in these feelings of adoption. Yes, it's a part of us, but no, I'm not I don't want to become somebody who is so obsessed with this feeling of being lost that I can't move on, and that I get stuck in this like toxic thought. And so that's why I like you, because you really balance me out and are like, well, all right, like, but what are you going to do about it? Like, what, like, and not what are you going to do about it in a mean way? Like, we can't do anything. Like, let's move on. No, like, let's figure out ways to like help you, kind of thing.
Yeah, like, I guess something that like Derek Carr and like the Raiders, really like inspired me that I was already doing, which is just kind of like, no one cares. No one cares that you're suffering. No one cares your motives behind what you do. You make those accomplishments, you make those achievements, you sell that many records, you make that much money, you sell that much product. And then, yeah, maybe somebody will care. Mm-hmm. But even when they do care, you won't care.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. Even when they do care, no one cares.
I think people do to an extent. I think that's more of a mindset of,
but that's the mentality. It's just like somebody who like is somebody like, oh man, like I would have done that if I just would have had like $10,000 more. I could have just bought that trademark and I could have just done exactly what they did. And then somebody would be like, bro, no one cares, man. No one cares that you could have.
Are you talking about like the like people complaining about like would have, could have, or just like
in
people's
general
opinions?
But I guess that this in general, like no one cares, right? Like no one cares your, oh yeah, this shoulda, woulda, coulda. It's exactly, like, oh man, like I could have been that. No one cares, dude. Like, are you that though?
Yeah.
Now?
Yeah.
Like with all due respect,
right?
Are you that?
Right.
No one cares. Like
That's
with all respect, all love, no one cares, man. No one cares.
Yeah. If you didn't, are you saying like if you didn't do it, then what you're talking is just kind of like, if you didn't make those goals,
if you didn't get to your goals, no one cares. So you shouldn't feel badly, because at the end of the day, why are you feeling badly? Because you're letting somebody down, but no one cares. But like, I don't mean that as like a harsh thing to like beat somebody down. I just mean that like with all the love and sincerity, like, bro, no one cares. Like you're hurting. You still have 5 minutes left to play in the half, and you got to go back out there.
Yeah.
Bro, no one cares.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I'm over here like, that's sad. But like, I get it. I mean, this is a football mentality, but it's a life mentality. And you're kind of, I was just going to say that, relating it to like life.
Yeah. But with all love, like try not to take that emotional like hit. Just be like no one cares. With a smile on your face. Like, let's make it happen. No one cares. Like,
right.
Maybe they will if we get this done. And even if they do, like, still.
But then it also kind of just leads back to like not necessarily worrying about what other people think to an extent too, and just kind of like keep going and keep going, keep pushing, keep and that's going, what that's like.
The letdown feels so bad when you hold on to the people caring about you, and then you feel like you're letting them down, and then that's when you feel bad. But if no one cares about you, then you can do anything. Just the mentality of it.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's like, that's
formed
like,
a little bit better.
Like Derek Carr is just kind of like, if we don't make the playoffs, no one's going to care. No one's going to care that our head coach got fired. No one's going to care that one of our top wide receivers like is in jail now for like 40 plus years. No one cares that, our top, cornerback got cut because he was flashing, guns on Snapchat. No one will care about us.
Yeah.
But they'll care if we start winning. They'll care if we keep winning. They'll start talking about us.
That kind of like
they Yeah. So that's kind of like what my mentality is. Like no one cares like about your shouldas, your stories of how you could have done it, but you didn't do it.
Right.
More how about like, I did do that, and my coach did get fired, and I still won.
Yeah.
And I still came through.
Yeah.
And I still was beat on by my parents, but I still got to where I wanted to be. Then, like, all right, I'm listening now. That's kind of like how I'm trying to like, keep my mentality.
It's just
with all love, with all like, but intensity of that.
And I think that's kind of like the interesting like merging kind of mindset that I'm kind of trying to adapt to as well, because I feel like for me specifically, getting lost in the thoughts of worrying about what people think, or worrying about like the me letting somebody else down. Like, I need to focus on me more than kind of helping to an extent, helping.
There's nothing wrong with that. right now, you know, all you need to do, all you should do is focus on yourself, because then you'll just be a much happier person to be around when you do.
And I think just like breaking it up into times, right? So an interesting thing about time in general is like where and when you put your focus to. So like this past week or a few weeks, we've been waking up early, and I work on something different than you do. You've been working on music. I've been going straight to working on my 9-to-5 kind of job and trying to put in 8 hours super early. But it's nice because then I find like my best days are when I have that time to focus sincerely on that task. And then when I get maybe 3 hours done, then I have that 1 hour I can go with Oreo, and I feel really good because I'm only focused on Oreo. Mm-hmm. And then I go back to work and focus on work or whatever it is. And then if I have to go pick up Maya, I'm only focused on Maya. And if she wants to stay after school, all right, cool, because I have a lot of work done. And so I just feel like that's the key, is to 100% be focused on what you're doing in the moment, because the second you start thinking about what you want to do, like what you should be doing, what I didn't do right the first time, what I should have done this more, then that's like your mind is just kind of branching off to all of these different areas. And I think that's like my main focus is I'm not trying to be like, oh, selfish, I don't care about anybody and I don't want to help anybody. I just want to be in that moment all the time. And it's super hard, but doing my best
every day, you know, chip at it every day.
I'm proud of like this past week specifically. We did really good.
I know. And you know, we can, just so much left to do, and it's exciting. I can't wait to, you know, keep plugging away.
Yeah.
He farted really bad.
Yeah, I know. I thought it was a burp. Definitely it wasn't. Now he's back there eating, so sorry if you can hear him eating. He's eating, and you're listening to it. It's so rude. Just kidding.
But, you know.
It was a good talk.
It was. Got a lot out there.
Yeah.
But, you know, don't want to give too much away. Got to keep some internal thoughts and stuff, because that keeps you pushing and keeps your, you know, your goals alive even more.
Mm-hmm.
So, but, you know, with that said, maybe that kind of wraps up
this week's episode
of talking about a little bit of our history, mm-hmm. and our mentalities, and where they were and where they are now, where they're going to continue to go. And you'll follow along with us as we
proceed.
Yeah, continue with our journeys.
And we're going to be a little bit more consistent on here. It's just been a little crazy.
Yeah, we've been battling a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
So
a lot of good things, I feel like.
Yeah.
It's interesting because, like, if you even look like a year ago from now, how different things were, like on a little bit like more negatively, and then right now it's like we have a lot going on, but it's all for the positive. But it's just a transition kind of period, so it's good. Life is good. We're getting there. Good.
Hell yeah!
And next week at this time we will be out of state.
Yes.
I'm really excited about that too.
Me too.
It's a surprise, so we can't tell anybody.
We can't tell.
Next week though. But you know what, to be honest, like, sorry, I know like we're supposed to wrap up, but I'm still talking.
Yeah, no worries.
I was thinking about trying to do a podcast while we're gone.
Yeah, let's do it.
And just doing it, like recording it on our phone. Obviously, it's not going to be like the best quality, you know. But I just think that I want to keep this super consistent. And since we'll be gone out of state, we won't have our equipment. But I still think that we can do it.
Yeah, I think we can.
Might be a little jumbled up. But I think it's good to just keep that consistency. It's just good for me.
Yeah, no, I'm all about it too. So we'll try that and see.
If I can do this here, I can do this anywhere.
Yeah, it'll be a good test run.
Yeah. Oreo's getting angsty. It's getting that time. I'm
getting angsty.
Yeah, I want to go get some food.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, yeah. If you're just listening in this morning, evening, or night, you know, good morning, good afternoon, and good night. And we will see you next time on Life of the Lost featuring Supe.
Bye.
Bye.